Hello managers and welcome to the first Manager Games video. I'm Janet from Trophy Games. Here at Trophy Games we create management games inspired by the industries that keep the world moving. Airlines, shipping, trucking, farming, trains, energy, and even space. With this new series, we're stepping outside of the screen to explore the real-world places, companies, and industries behind the games we all love. And for our very first adventure, we're heading to Toulouse, France. Known as the home of Airbus and one of the most important cities in aviation history, Toulouse is a dream destination for aviation enthusiasts. From legendary aircraft to cutting-edge aerospace technology, this city has helped shape the future of flight. But is Toulouse really the ultimate city for plane lovers? Let's find out. Good morning! Today is probably the most aviation-heavy day of the entire trip. We're going to be going to Aeroscopia, which is one of the most famous aviation museums in Europe. And we're also going to be doing some guided tours of both the A350 and the A321. Honestly, I'm not really sure of how much we're going to be able to film during the guided tours. I heard that Airbus can be quite strict with filming in certain areas, which makes sense. But I'll do my best to show you as much as possible. Welcome to our first stop, Aeroscopia. This place is not just another aviation museum. It is built right next to the Airbus factories. On the exact site where the A380 was first assembled, the biggest passenger aircraft ever built. Right here! Toulouse isn't called the heart of European aviation for nothing. This city has been shaping commercial aviation for decades, and Aeroscopia feels like a celebration of that entire history. The museum covers more than 35,000 square meters, packed with legendary aircraft. Caravelle, A300V, military jets, the Super Guppy. Now guys, I'm gonna be taking you on a quick tour to see all the aircraft that you can find here. Let's see how many we can count. This place is insane. But let's be honest, there's one aircraft everybody comes here for. This is amazing. This is a real Concorde. And the best part, we can walk inside it. This is the only museum in the world with two Concordes on display. The inside feels smaller than I expected. The cabin is narrow, the seats are very tight. Kind of feels like stepping into a rocket more than a commercial airline. Back then, this thing carried passengers at twice the speed of sound. Crazy to think that this machine cruised at over 2,100 kilometers per hour. To put that into perspective, a normal commercial flight today from London to New York takes about 7 to 8 hours. Well, with the Concorde, it only took 3.5 hours. It flew commercially from 1976 to 2003. But between the 2000s crash, rising fuel, maintenance costs, and the massive drop in passengers after 9/11, the economics just stopped making sense. And in 2003, the Concorde made its final commercial flight. Airbus has been based in Toulouse since 1969. And every Airbus aircraft generation has a connection to this city, from the original A300 to the modern A350. Okay guys, so small update. As expected, we were not able to record during the Airbus tour, but kind of makes sense because it's active production facilities. But I really wish I could show you what we saw in there. It's amazing. The size of everything, it's just absurd. You see all types of different airplane parts everywhere, and it's awesome how they eventually become commercial aircrafts. It's thousands of tiny details being assembled with insane precision, and despite the huge size of the factory, everything is incredibly organized. Honestly, seeing planes at the airport is one thing, but seeing them before they even become airplanes, that's a whole different experience. If you visit Aeroscopia, you definitely have to book one of those tours. He also explained to us that the different parts that they use to assemble an Airbus come from 4 different countries: Spain, the UK, France, and Germany. So it's also amazing how many people are involved in building one single aircraft. When you take the guided tour, you hop on a bus like this one and head over to the final assembly lines right next to the museum. This is where you'll be able to see aircraft in different stages of production, including planes that haven't even received their engines yet. These buildings are part of the Airbus facilities you visit during the tour, and as you can see, they're massive. And right there is an A321 with no engine, exactly what I was talking about. We weren't allowed to film inside, but we did get the chance to step into an Airbus A400M, the same aircraft featured in Mission Impossible. And here's how it went.
It corresponds to what is called the flight level 400, 40,000 feet or 12,000 meters. It can fly a stable flight at 46 meters.
Fun fact, the A400M can carry military vehicles, helicopters, and more than 100 troops, while still being able to land on short, unpaved runways.
So the cargo hold is 4 meter by 4 meter by 17 meter. And the reason you can see everything exposed is, again, you can see with this orange attachment is they had to put equipment, take it out, and instead of putting walls, they decided to leave it like this, just to fit some protection and leave it for us. Everything grippy on this plane will transform into a rollerblade, a rollerboard, which means that as low as it is now, the airplane can kneel a little further. That allows the ramp to be a bit flatter. You have the rollers on the ramp as well. All the way back, you push everything up and secure it with ropes and these hooks you have on the floor. This is your central wing box. This is what the wings are attached to. So if you did manage to open that up for some reason, you would lose the wings and the engine.
And to wrap up the day, we got to explore an A380. Ever wondered where pilots rest during long-haul flights? There's a dedicated crew rest area hidden just behind the cockpit. And here, you can actually see it for yourself. Pretty cool, huh? Good morning, guys! So yesterday, it was all about aircraft. And honestly, it was such a cool day. We were able to visit the final assembly lines of Airbus. We also got to see a Concorde on the inside. Wow. But today we are going to be going a little further, like way farther. Today we're visiting Cité de l'Espace, which is Toulouse's famous space museum. Since we're already one of the biggest aerospace cities in the world, we couldn't skip this place. Especially since at Trophy Games, we're also working on something really exciting that I'm sure that if you follow us on social media, you already know about. Drumroll. Space Manager. So this felt kind of perfect. Very excited to see what this place has to offer. Let's go! Welcome to Cité de l'Espace, the space museum that proves our journey doesn't stop in the skies. So yeah, I know that technically this place is more about rockets and space exploration than airplanes, but in Toulouse, these words are deeply connected because the engineers that build aircraft and spacecraft often come from the same universities, same companies, and a similar aerospace ecosystem. That's one of the reasons why Toulouse is such an important place for aviation geeks. It doesn't just build planes, it also builds the future of humanity in the sky and beyond it. One of the first things you notice here is the size of everything. This behind me is a full-scale Ariane 5 rocket, 52 meters tall. Standing next to it really makes you feel small. Not gonna lie, that is pretty cool. Cité de l'Espace opened in 1997 and has welcomed millions of visitors ever since. And honestly, more than a museum, it kind of feels like stepping into a sci-fi movie. There are real spacecraft models, satellite exhibits, and then there's a thing that completely blew my mind. An actual moon rock. This tiny piece traveled through space, landed on the moon billions of years ago, and was later brought back to Earth during the Apollo 15 mission in 1971. The rock is actually unknown from NASA, making it one of the few places in the world where you can see a real piece of the moon up close. One of the coolest experiences here is the Mir space station walkthrough. Mir was the first modular space station ever assembled in orbit and remained continuously inhabited for nearly 10 years. Honestly, this just made me admire astronauts even more. And then we also tried the Moon Explorer Simulator. It's designed to make you feel like you're on a mission to the moon, and I was not prepared for how intense it would be. At one point, you feel pressure building on your chest as the simulation recreates the forces astronauts experience during launch. Suddenly, all that training starts to make a lot more sense. We also got to see what astronauts eat, smell what the moon supposedly smells like, which astronauts have described as something similar to burnt gunpowder, and even find out how much taller we'd be in space. Apparently, I'd gain about 3 centimeters. After spending a few hours here, you leave with a whole new appreciation for space exploration and for the people crazy enough to do it for real. Okay guys, so I'm in a little bit of a rush because I have a surprise for all of you. A few days ago, when we went to Aeroscopia, I noticed something very interesting. Right next to the Airbus facilities, like literally right next to the museum and next to the final assembly lines, there's this place full of historic aircraft. It caught my attention immediately, and I knew that I had to show it to you guys. So I emailed the people that work there, and we're gonna be having a small tour and a quick interview, so you also get to see how cool it is. I just received your email confirmation right now, so I'm getting ready so that we can go and see it together. One thing I quickly realized in Toulouse is that aviation here isn't only about building the future, it's about protecting the past, and that's exactly what Anciennes Toulouse is doing. Anciennes is a non-profit association created back in 1980 by aviation enthusiasts determined to preserve historic aircraft before they disappeared forever. Today, the association has rescued and preserved more than 100 aircraft, helicopters, engines, and aviation artifacts. When visiting, you can see passionate volunteers who genuinely care about protecting this heritage. People are actively restoring aircraft. You smell metal, paint, oil. Some airplanes are complete masterpieces. Others are still waiting to be brought back to life. Every aircraft here has a story. Military jets, experimental aircraft, war legends, old commercial airplanes. Some of them are incredibly rare. Some are the last surviving examples of their kind. Walking around the site feels like getting rare access to a side of aviation history most people never get to see. One of the highlights of the visit was meeting the volunteer and board member Pierre Etienne, who gave us a closer look into the incredible restoration work happening at Ailes Anciennes, Toulouse.
My name is Pierre Etienne. I'm kind of an aircraft nerd, and I do aircraft for a living. I do work for Airbus. And it was natural for me to understand what was there before Airbus and how the old aircraft were flying, were built and everything. So private people or organizations such as the Air Force, French Air Force, are retiring aircraft. So when they do retire them, they do have several choices: scrap them, sell them if they are still airworthy, and if they are retired for good, then they could turn towards many museums or associations like us to get those aircraft preserved. When they are restored, they are put in static display, either at the museum, Aeroscopia, which we are part of, or into our own collection here. Here, it's more about preservation work, being sure that corrosion and degradation doesn't start. And then you have aircraft which are really old, which are really in bad shape, and so that could be lasting for years, depending on the damage which has been done to the aircraft. For instance, this one here, it was exposed to the elements for years, and it was close to the sea, so salty weather, and it was really bad. I think this one is in restoration since more or less 10 years now. If you turn around, you're gonna have, that's a Mirage 3. This aircraft was the backbone of the French Air Force during the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. Then here, you do have Socata Epsilon, which is a trainer aircraft for the French Air Force as well. So that's a propeller aircraft with piston engine. And behind is a Breguet Alizé. So that's a carrier-based aircraft, which was used by the French Air Force. So it would be able to carry some torpedoes, some bombs, and some sonar devices to detect submarines. Go on. Go on in. We do have around 40 or 50 aircraft here, plus all the other one you would see into the museum. So roughly, we have 80 to 90 aircraft overall. You have the Dassault Flamand here, which is it's a specific passenger aircraft because I think it never saw service in the civilian airlines. Here on the other side over there, the aircraft I was speaking of before. So this aircraft is a tracker aircraft, which was used by the French Sécurité Civile. So basically, the firefighters from the air, and it was doing aerial firefighting for the last 30 years in France. As you can see, this aircraft is now fully rebuilt. If you want to preserve an aircraft, you have to make it original. We tend to use exactly what would be used on an aircraft you would produce for civilian or military use. And you can see here, this one is a Mirage 2000N. So this one has been retired, replaced by the Rafale as a nuclear deterrent for the French Air Force. We do have almost the full lineup of the French Dassault fighter family, starting from the Ouragan up to the Mirage 2000, which is one of the last. And apart from that, we do have the last Breguet de Pont, which is a very big aircraft from just after the Second World War. So there is very few of them which are still preserved. But the feat of that aircraft is that it's the first double-decker aircraft, quite unique at the time. So that's the Breguet de Pont, as you can see. The wing goes up to there. So that's quite a massive aircraft for the 40s. Of course, we do have French aircraft, quite a lot, because we are in France. So we do have a few US-built aircraft, some English aircraft, some German aircraft. I'm just going to be giving you one example. For instance, this one over there is a F-100 Super Sabre, which is a US-built aircraft, but this one has been brought back, or teams from Germany. And then we do have a MiG-21 over there, which is a Russian aircraft. That's an engine which is inside this aircraft. So that's a big amount of the aircraft which is just dedicated to the engine. So this one is a CF6 engine. So that's something which was used on the Airbus 300 back in the days. But as you can see, that was a type of engine you would have on a medium to long-haul aircraft. And you have the hot exhaust, which is here. And the hot part of the engine is the part you are seeing here. And as you can see, you have a fan which is with a bigger diameter versus the hot. So basically, you get a hot exhaust here, and then it's basically just pushing air on the back of the engine using the bigger diameter fan here.
Whether you're an aviation enthusiast, a retired professional, a student, or simply someone willing to learn, Anciennes is constantly looking for volunteers to help preserve these incredible pieces of aviation history.
We are always looking for people willing to give some of their time. And then, depending on your skills, you can do many, many things. We are not only looking for skilled aviation technicians, we are also looking for people willing to, again, invest some time and make the association leap. We are attracting a lot of those young people. Some are still students sometimes. And that means we are playing a role into preserving the memories of the aerospace industry, of the aircraft themselves. And maybe we could attract them into this field of activity later on. So that's a really good reward from my point of view.
What I love most about this place is that it perfectly represents the spirit of Toulouse. The city doesn't just celebrate aviation when it's shiny and new, it celebrates the entire journey. And to close out this incredible visit, Pierre shared one of the most memorable stories his time with the association has allowed him to experience.
I do air-to-air photography as well, so I do shoot aircraft from another aircraft. So we do have a good partnership with Saphir, which is French pronounced as Sapphire in English. Which is a branch of the French Public Research carrying flying experiments. This organization did retire a few aircraft in the last years, so we did recover one aircraft which was deemed unrecoverable. And in 2022, we've been contacted by them again because they were phasing out a Falcon private jet aircraft, which was repurposed as a flying lab. Before that, they wanted to do a shootout of the aircraft, which happened to be possible. Set us up with some other people, and we had a heck of a time flying over the Pyrenees with a Falcon on our wing. We have a lot of good pictures of that. It was a very, very exciting moment.
So, today is our last day in Toulouse, and we're ending the trip in the best way possible, plane spotting. Some time ago, we uploaded a video, plane spotting in Copenhagen, and we asked you what other places did you suggest for us to go. And many of you commented that we should definitely come here to Toulouse-Blagnac airport. I came to a coffee where you are right next to the runways and you get to see all the action. Oh my God, I think a beluga is gonna take off. Guys, it's moving. I have to show this to you because you know I love the beluga. Let's see. Come with me. Okay guys, so as I was telling you, one of the coolest things about Toulouse Airport is that there is not only one plane spotting spot. The airport is surrounded by multiple viewing areas, and they're spread around the Airbus facilities. Some overlook the runways or the factory ramps, and some let you watch aircraft testing, which already tells you something about Toulouse-Blagnac Airport. This airport is deeply connected with Airbus production and testing. It's home to the final assembly lines of the A320 family, the A330, and the A350, which means that on a random weekday, you might literally be watching an aircraft's first flight ever. You're not just watching commercial traffic, you're watching aircraft before they even enter the world. After spending a few days here, it's easy to understand why aviation geeks love Toulouse so much. The city lives and breathes aerospace. From the Concorde and the Airbus factories, to rockets, moon rocks, and watching brand new aircraft take off for the very first time, this trip felt like stepping inside the worlds of airline manager and space manager. If you're into aviation, Toulouse is really a place that you need to visit at least once. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more manager games adventures. And let us know in the comments what aviation related place should we visit next. See you in the next video.